Welcome back to Digital Perspectives, everybody. I'm Brad Kimes. You can follow me on Twitter at BackupBradley above at the top of the screen. And everything that we're talking about here, I just want to remind people that I did just complete an educational course. I've started a new free monthly newsletter. And if you guys want to be a part of that, I think it's a great educational course for anybody who wants to kind of round out their knowledge in the crypto space. Or if you know somebody that's a newbie coming in that wants to be able to get a hold of some information that they can quickly kind of get up to speed on where the market is and the top coins and what they do, the tech behind them, this is definitely the course for them and or you. But make sure you get on that monthly newsletter. You'll get the top 5 crypto picks each month and private pre-IPO company picks that I have. And you can see any other important news in the crypto space that's happening. It will always be some exclusive content just for you guys. Let's get on to the news. We have so much to cover today. Nothing yet happening on the Ripple Labs as far as the SEC site for the IPO announcement. We're waiting. Who knows when? We just kind of watch this thing, and see if we can figure out something. So nothing as of yet, but we'll keep a steady eye on it. Here's something I wanted to discuss before we get into the topic of Judy Shelton getting the vote confirmation to go before the full Senate. And I do want to make the announcement that I was under the impression yesterday that she got confirmed, but it isn't. She actually got confirmed by the banking committee. We're going to go over all of this, plus some really important information about what XRP and how that possibly could be affected by a gold standard of a Back to the Future way, like Judy Shelton talks about, should she be confirmed by the full vote of the Senate, which it does appear she will. However, we'll get to that in a second, but let's go ahead and talk about this because this is exciting. R3 CEO leverages blockchain for old-fashioned bond market. R3 CEO David Rutter is developing a blockchain-based bond trading ecosystem that will use Corda infrastructure. The platform will go live in 2021. This is exciting, guys. As you know, the Corda infrastructure is a platform that all of these businesses, companies, trading platforms, everybody can build on this Corda platform, and it provides the option of the Corda settler for transactions and payments, right? So the Corda settler currently uses a digital asset XRP for settlement, and that would be enormous if even just a fraction of the people building on Corda were to decide to use that as settlement. So we'll keep an eye on this. The bond market, right around 150 trillion or somewhere in there. It's been stated $155 trillion market or more. And it's pretty remarkable that what we're really looking at here is the back-end settlement. Now, David Rutter is no stranger to this. David Rutter used to have a company he built called Ledger Edge, which he sold for around $150 million. And I think this was in 2015 or something that later when he actually did that. But however, he has the background, he has the clout and the credibility of bringing technology to the traditional market structure. So this is something we're going to want to keep an eye on. I have talked about this ad nauseum probably to everybody who's heard it, but the bond market is enormous, whether we're talking about the government bond market or the corporate bond market. These markets are incredibly huge. So this is really, to me, this back end, whether we're talking about bonds or just derivatives in general, this is really where I think the larger conversation will end up taking place here that we really don't have today, because we talk so much about cross-border payments as if it's just remittances or just settlements between banks. It's not. It's so much bigger. It's between all the things that are traded every single day that become a cross-border transaction or settlement, because there's so many people all over the world participating in all of the markets. So we're going to keep an eye on that as well. Now let's get to this. So as we said before, just to clear up, and I want to thank the people that gave the clarity in the comments below the video yesterday to help really drill us down. Guys, it really does take a village to make sure we keep the accurate information and keep everything concise so we all are on the same page. And sometimes that includes me. So, the banking committee approves Fed nominee Judy Shelton. The next step is a full Senate vote. And according to Senator Kennedy, he apparently is going to vote for her. And that shows, apparently, when you look at the votes in the full Senate vote, that he would be he's a huge signal that that vote for Judy is going to go through without any problem whatsoever. So I think the larger hurdle was getting her through this original vote through the banking committee. Okay, so that's where we are today. I don't know when the full Senate vote takes place for Judy, but it is interesting. Now, one thing I did want to point out, because there was a great question too, what would her role be? Like, would she just be on the Federal Reserve? There's 12 different Federal Reserves in the country, but what role? So now here it says that, I wanted to point this out. Yeah, so here it says here that Senator John Neely Kennedy, who was also worried about Shelton's track record as a crucial vote on Monday evening, Kennedy signaled he would rally behind Shelton, essentially guaranteeing a simple majority Tuesday. So we'll see where all of this ends up going, but we got to keep an eye on this because it's not done yet. That's the bigger point. Now, here it says here, critics worry that Trump would tap Shelton as Powell's replacement when his term expires in 2022, putting her in a significant position of power over the central bank. So it is not yet really confirmed that that's the position she would go into, but that's some of the worry from the critics of obviously Trump and the current administration. So it's all speculation at this point. However, it does look like she has taken a giant step forward in the process. Now, why do we talk about all of this? Why does it matter? And it matters because Judy Shelton has proposed a gold bond backed system to the currencies, the major currencies of the world. I've gone over this. If you haven't seen it, punch in Judy Shelton in my search box in the playlist or video list, and you will see the videos you need to watch and catch up on to see what she has proposed. Because she has put forth the idea that we could go to a back to the future kind of gold bond backing the currencies, the major currencies of the world, it gets quite an interesting conversation, because just the announcement of something like that happening with the 4 or 5 major currencies of the world, maybe more, but at least those. Imagine for a second what that would do for a new use case of gold and how that would reflect in the price of gold. It would be remarkable in my estimation. Just the announcement that they're going to do that would send gold into a spike, I would imagine. Now, we've also seen this video right here where the CME group has talked about the fact that we could see a digital asset be introduced. Even a digital asset backed in physical gold could replace the US dollar, it says, right? As the global reserve currency. Now, I find this quite interesting because the CME group is a trading platform, and, really in most cases, their job is to settle transactions and get things done for clients that are coming to their platform to make trades and buy and hold and sell things every single day. For them to speak on this is quite profound in my estimation, I can tell you that. But I start thinking about some of the conversations we've had in the past where it wouldn't be the first time for us to talk about the idea that there would be a gold-backed XRP, not pegged, because some people believe there'd be XRP would be pegged to gold. I don't necessarily believe that, and for today's discussion, I want to discuss the idea of XRP being backed by gold, which would be different. Different how? Different how in the way that for today's discussion, let's look at it this way. What if in the new system that is being built, and we all know that there's a new system being built, it's exactly what the XRP ledger is for, all the gold is tokenized and there's a tokenized representation of all that gold, and what if all that gold was placed on the ledger? Again, this would not be the first time we've had this conversation about this topic. What would that do to XRP price? Now, in order for any of this to work, I think it goes without saying that you would certainly need the US digital dollar to be created and released, as well as the rest of the CBDCs, to provide the on and off ramps to the ledger for this to even happen. Funny enough, most all the major countries are in the process of developing a CBDC. So how far away are we, should Judy Shelton get in and be able to exercise some of these ideas she's had for so long? Let's just take a look at something here. On a 10-to-1 trading to clear multiples as of 2017, that's the equivalent of 6,380 tons of gold traded per day. That's a 10-to-1 leverage, but we got to go with, the full amount just to know where we're at, which equals 1.6 million tons of gold traded per year. Now let's just take the 6,380 tons of gold traded per day, even with the full leverage in, right? So let's just take that. So 6,380 tons of gold traded per day. Because you can't simply just say, well, let's put all 8 trillion ounces of gold or whatever it's worth today on the ledger. That doesn't mean that that's being traded every day. We need to know what the daily transactions would roughly be on gold. So if it's 6,380 tons, if you break that down into ounces, how many ounces are inside of those? So there are 32,150.7 ounces inside of 1 ton of gold bullion. Okay? So these are rough numbers, but just trying to get an understanding of what would be traded a day. So if we multiply the 32,150.7 ounces to each ton times 6,380 tons traded per day, we get 205,121,466 ounces of gold traded every day. At the current price of $1,817 for 1 ounce of gold right now, we would come up with a total of $372,705,703,722 worth of gold traded every day. So roughly around 372 billion traded every day. Now this is not the physical, this is the physical, not the paper products sold on top of it, like futures, ETFs, those things. That paper market on top of the underlying asset of all these other products is much larger than the physical stuff that's traded every day that we're talking about here. So with that in mind, what would that do if we take Susan Athey from Ripple's calculator and imagine that all the gold has been tokenized? The CBDC system is created for the major currencies. They've announced a bond market that is gold-backed, physically redeemable, 5-year bond market, as Judy Shelton suggests, to give the confidence back to the system. Because you can't forget there's an intangible here. And the intangible is confidence. What do you think this would do for confidence, knowing that gold is revered as money all over the world? What do you think that would do for confidence, not only for the XRP ledger in the use of it, but for this new digital era, introducing these new stable coins, digital dollars, CBDCs to the world? I think it would greatly bring confidence to it. I think introducing a physically redeemable gold-backed bond to the system would create an enormous amount of confidence to bring everybody to this new financial system. Now we're speculating here, but however, if we take the 372 billion and we look at the calculator here, and it says if you're going to express billion, 500 billion would be 0.5. Well, we're talking about daily transactions as we've added up here, which we said were 372 billion. So I put 0.372. The only other number I changed was the circulating supply at 45 billion. And we come up with, according to Susan Athey's calculator, a $554.74 XRP. That's right. It's 20 cents right now. 19 even. 20 cents right now. But speculating on what we're seeing take place, the posturing, the moves that are happening, is this really out of the realm of having a conversation about the potential of where the investment may or may not go? I don't think so. I think it's worth having this conversation, and I'm going to further that. A $554.74 XRP would be okay at my house. The other thing I like about this idea is that I'm reminded of what Glenn Hutchins says. The value is in the protocol. If the representation of the gold per day is expressed in tokenized representation on the XRP ledger, that value would be expressed through the protocol and having that value on the protocol, which then would be expressed through the value of the token. What I really like about this idea is that it's not pinned or pegged to gold. There are still many, many other use cases that can be brought to the ledger and the protocol and placed in things of value placed on the protocol. And that can still allow XRP to grow freely in price to represent the overall value of all the things that happen to take place on the protocol. I liken this idea to, if you just take one of the protocols from the internet that we're using right now, right? You got the SMPT or TP for email, you got the FTP for file transfer, and many other protocols that work together to make the internet we use, right? Imagine if the file transfer protocol, just picking one of the protocols that allows us to attach images and files and send them along with the emails we use. Imagine if the FTP, the file transfer protocol, had a token developed with it when they created it. How much would that protocol be worth, and what would the representation of value be for that token that represents all the value of all the file transfers that take place because of that protocol? That's what's happening here. This is where we're moving to. The next layers and protocols of the internet now have a token that represent their value. I wouldn't be surprised in the future if we didn't see tokens be generated, or some kind of a bond market of some sort be generated for some of the previous protocols to try to assess some kind of value to those as well, or some kind of a market behind them. Would not surprise me at all. Anyway, let's move forward. Let's take a look at this because I found this to be interesting. Thank you to Shane Nixon. Exchange body calls for creation of global crypto taxonomy. Now this is important. Again, just like needing stable coins and central bank digital currencies, digital dollars of the world, to be up and running to create the on and off ramps for any of this to become a real conversation. Because right now we're just looking at the possibilities, right? Look at this, because this is another point to what needs to happen. The World Federation of Exchanges has called for the creation of a common taxonomy to cover the growth in stablecoins and other crypto assets and curb regulatory fragmentation. This is a call of action for the globe. The World Federation of Exchanges has called for the creation of a common taxonomy to cover the growth of stablecoins and other crypto assets, curb regulatory fragmentation. The industry association has asked the Financial Stability Board, we have covered them, an international body connected to the G20, and other international standard setting bodies to generate, adopt, and use global taxonomy, as it would drive a common understanding of whether a global stablecoin or crypto asset fits a certain classification or definition. A global stablecoin or crypto assets fits a certain classification or definition. I think this clearly says that we're not waiting for more regulation so much as we're waiting for a classification, right? This would reduce the variance between jurisdictions and curb regulatory dissonance, from the World Federation of Exchanges argue. Further, a periodic review of the taxonomy would ensure forms of global stablecoin and crypto assets which have matured and may constitute a new viable, commonly used product can be incorporated and regulated accordingly. The WFE has asked the Financial Stability Board to consider 3 areas for further work: creating classifications via taxonomy for all global stablecoin and crypto assets, application of recommendations to all crypto assets, applying the cross-border cooperation recommendations and information sharing requirements to the supervision of all those trading GSC and crypto assets. Regulators should cooperate to share information in global stablecoins and crypto assets, and also on their issues and their platforms on which they are traded. The WFE says the exchange body fears that without formalized, coordinated approaches, the enforcement and oversight in general issues around market integrity and consumer protection will not be fully addressed. So they're looking for uniformity here. They're looking for uniformity here, some real uniformity globally speaking. Well, what is this? Well, this is the rule that went into effect yesterday domestically in the United States, where now it is effective from the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau that the sender and receiver between cross-border transactions be able to see the payment and the fees before it takes place. Ripple XRP were cited in this document as a solution. Ripple, or XRP, was also cited to be a currency in the eyes of the Consumer Financial Protection Agency. Then we look at this. This is Brian Brooks from the Office Comptroller of Currency to unveil a new payments charter, which I believe, as you know, will be the new regulatory sandbox, at least domestically here in the United States. You couple this along with the approach of the Financial Stability Board looking for uniformity and taxonomy for crypto and global stablecoins, and you have an international sandbox as well. This is getting pretty interesting, guys. I just want to read you this one highlight here and we'll wrap. So for the version 1 of the payments charter, Brooks laid out a national version of the state money transmission license that provides the advantage of national platform with preemption from the states. In version 2, approximately 18 months after rollout, Brooks estimates that these institutions would then be able to have access to the Federal Reserve. Last year, an article in Forbes predicted that 2020 would be the year when a showdown in court between the OCC and the states might occur, and the OCC's authority last October in the Southern District of New York ruled in favor of the NYDFS against the OCC last year. That attorney for the Southern District of New York has been replaced with Jay Clayton. Brooks argued yesterday on the podcast, which is a few weeks ago, when the OCC granted an entity bank charter, this makes an institutional eligible for FDIC insurance. He further went on to note that this does not mean the institution had to hold accounts protected by the FDIC insurance, but simply by being eligible to do so under an OCC charter was the authority needed to provide a federal payments license. I have to tell you, when you see these things about exchange body globally, the FSB, Financial Stability Board, other international standard setting bodies, to generate and adopt a global taxonomy, we're starting to see a headway. We're starting to, far as I'm concerned, deal with the real issues at hand that need to take place for real global adoption. Real global adoption. And then when you take in fact that the CME is having a discussion that even a digital asset could be backed by physical gold and could replace the dollar more easily than physical bars of gold could, I think we're witnessing an incredible time in our lives. I'll tell you that. I'm going to leave that right there. I think we've got enough there for us to talk about. Let's keep this conversation going. And let's understand that obviously we are speculating about what the impact would be of gold being on the ledger in a tokenized representation on the XRP ledger. And that could be a backed XRP by that market in the representation of value of what's on the protocol. Remember what Glenn Hutchins says, the value is in the protocol. All right, guys, that's going to do it for me. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe. Leave a comment below. And make sure you share with somebody you know. I'll see you on the next one.